tenure so far, these numbers haven't just edged up, they have rocketed up. And people now are waking up every day thinking, is my child going to get stabbed in the street?
In Bread London, I say it all the time, and this city has gone so far downhill since he's been there, and of course he's the police and crime commissioner for the city as well.
13,000 knife crimes in a single year. That's the terrifying reality of London under Sadiq Khan's watch. Yet instead of tackling this crisis head-on, Khan's busy chatting with EU diplomats about Brexit.
Just to the end of April, 1,296 stabbings.
Shocking.
In the city that you're in charge of. Nearly 50 people have been killed with knives.
Is this the leadership Londoners deserve? We're about to dive into the interview that's got everyone talking. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. While Sadiq Khan busies himself with Brexit diplomacy, London's streets are awash with blood. The mayor's recent meeting with EU diplomats to discuss Brexit and stronger EU ties might seem like a noble pursuit, but it's a far cry from what Londoners actually need right now. Khan's obsession with Brexit isn't just misguided, it's downright dangerous. As he schmoozes with European officials, knife crime in the capital continues to spiral out of control. It's as if he's fiddling while Rome burns, except in this case, it's young lives being lost on London's streets. The stark reality of London's crime epidemic is hard to ignore, yet somehow Khan manages to do just that. Since he took office, knife crime has surged by a staggering 52%. In 2021 alone, there were over 10,000 knife crime offences reported in the capital.
Thefts every 10 minutes of people with their mobile phone out in the city, let alone the rise in knife crime and other violent crimes.
That's not just a statistic, it's a damning indictment of Khan's priorities. But it's not just knife crime that's plaguing London. Gang violence has also seen a worrying uptick under Khan's watch. The Metropolitan Police have identified over 200 active gangs in the city, with an estimated 3,000 gang members. These aren't just numbers on a page, they represent real people, real communities living in fear.
Because there is no suggestion that he is not prioritising getting a grip on knife crime, and that is the single most important, I think, talking point there.
So while Khan is off playing international diplomat, what could he be doing instead? How about addressing the root causes of crime in London? Or investing in youth services to give young people alternatives to gang life? Or perhaps working on strategies to improve police-community relations? But no, Khan seems more interested in rehashing Brexit debates than tackling the immediate needs of Londoners. It's a disconnect that hasn't gone unnoticed. In a recent interview, a reporter didn't pull any punches, accusing Khan of neglecting his duties as mayor.
Tenure so far, these numbers haven't just edged up, they have rocketed up. And people now are waking up every day thinking, is my child going to get stabbed in the street?
While you're chasing EU diplomats, Londoners are being stabbed in the streets. The reporter challenged, how can you justify prioritising Brexit over bloodshed? Khan's response was tellingly weak. He mumbled something about multitasking and long-term strategic thinking. But the damage was done. The accusation had struck a nerve, exposing the glaring gap between Khan's actions and the realities faced by ordinary Londoners. Sadiq Khan's pro-EU stance was supposed to be his golden ticket to political stardom. Instead, it's become a millstone around his neck, dragging him down into a quagmire of discontent and dissent.
18 minutes. There's a knife crime across England and Wales.
Just robbed that guy with his bike? Yeah.
This week, we investigate the knives on our street.
The Labour mayor's fixation on the European Union has sparked a firestorm of criticism, but not from the expected quarters. It's his own party members who are leading the charge, exposing a deep rift between Khan's lofty ambitions and the gritty realities faced by ordinary Londoners. Khan's been shouting from the rooftops about Brexit being a mistake, advocating for stronger ties with the EU as if it's the panacea for all of London's ills. He's even gone as far as pushing for a UK-EU youth mobility scheme, painting a rosy picture of under-30s freely living, working, and studying across Europe. It's a nice idea, sure, but it's about as useful to the average Londoner as a chocolate teapot.
In Bread London, I say it all the time, and this city has gone so far downhill since he's been there, and of course he's the police and crime commissioner for the city as well.
While Khan's been busy playing EU diplomat, his own backyard has been going up in flames. Labour Party members are increasingly vocal about their frustration with Khan's approach. They're not mincing words. Khan's pro-EU policies are wildly out of touch with the needs of working-class voters and small business owners in London. It's a damning indictment of a mayor who seems more concerned with Brussels than Brixton. Take Khan's ultra-low emission zone ULEZ policy, for example. It's been about as popular as a pork chop at a vegan convention. Small businesses and working-class communities are feeling the squeeze, viewing it as just another financial burden rather than a solution to pressing issues. While Khan waxes lyrical about clean air, Londoners are more concerned about breathing, without fear of becoming another crime statistic. The disconnect between Khan's EU obsession and the everyday concerns of Londoners is stark. It's like he's playing chess, while the city is crying out for someone to fix the broken checkers board.
Khan's London is all about pushing the agenda, and that includes silence and dissent.
His focus on maintaining ties with the EU might play well in certain circles. But for the average Londoner struggling with rising crime rates and economic pressures, it's about as relevant as last year's bus ticket.
Sadiq Khan, about the fact that they feel you as mayor have lost control of their safety in their city.
This growing chasm between Khan's priorities and the needs of his constituents hasn't gone unnoticed within the Labour Party. The whispers of discontent have grown into a chorus of criticism. There's a palpable sense that Khan's leadership is steering the party off course, alienating the very people Labour claims to represent. It's a political own goal of epic proportions. As crime rates continue their upward trajectory and London's streets remain awash with problems, the calls for Khan to reconsider his position, or step aside altogether, are growing louder by the day. It's a far cry from the days when he was hailed as Labour's rising star. Now he's looking more like a political liability, with potential challengers for the London mayoral position circling like sharks scenting blood in the water. As Khan's political star continues to dim, even his own party seems to be distancing itself from the embattled mayor. Labour insiders are whispering about Keir Starmer's potential plans to cut ties with Khan before the next election. It's a stunning fall from grace for a man once hailed as Labour's rising star, but with London's streets awash in violence and Khan's Brexit obsession alienating voters, the writing may be on the wall. The speculation that Starmer might back a new Labour candidate for London mayor speaks volumes about Khan's toxicity. It's a clear sign that the party views him as a liability rather than an asset. As Khan struggles to defend his record, the question isn't just whether he can salvage his own political career, but whether he's dragging Labour down with him. For Londoners caught in the crossfire of rising crime and political infighting, the stakes couldn't be higher.